The headlines on Reuters breaking views this morning. The ECB's graceful surrender may lend Greece more time. Earnings from big multinationals portray the real China growth story. And draconian IMF conditions in Romania threaten to harm the country's economy. Breaking Views assistant editor Robert Cole joins me now. Morning to you, Robert.
Hi.
Let's start with this ECB story. Got everyone pretty excited. This has not been confirmed, of course, we should say, right?
We're not there yet, but the noises coming out of Frankfurt make it look as if what seems to be the sensible option here is going to be followed by the ECB. You'll recall, just to back the track up a bit, that the ECB has bought lots of different bonds, Greek bonds in particular. It's played below par for those. There was an expectation early on in this process that it would be cheeky enough to expect to be paid back at full price. Clearly,
the point here, though, is they're making. It seems to me, if this is right, they're making concessions, but they're not going to take a loss. Who's going to be taking a loss?
Well, that's a very, very good question, and one wonders who.
The other governments who form the EFSF, right?
Well, the people who will be making a loss will be those who bought these things at par. Now, a lot of those people may have now sold. So even the private sector involvement, which there is an agreement almost signed now, we understand, even those people may not be taking much of a loss because they perhaps bought in the market below par as well, just like the ECB.
All right,
the point here is that, gradually, gracefully, fingers crossed, touch wood, we seem to be inching towards a Greek deal. The piece of the jigsaw which remains to be in place is Greece itself.
All right.
And I think that the way we're looking at it is that it's up to Greece. Do you want this or not?
Let's talk about Weigu's piece, multinationals telling the real growth story in China. Yum Brands, 21% growth Q4. Richemont, 16% growth Q4. What? Siemens
going the other way. So this is what this piece is trying to say. And yet we're all very excited about the China growth story, and we look to China for its own numbers to try and get a picture of what that's happening.
Yeah.
Those numbers are sometimes questioned, but what we're saying here is look at the companies which are operating in China for the real story. Yum Brands, we see that inflation is a problem, and perhaps a greater problem than the Chinese official data might lead us to believe. Siemens is an example of a company which is obviously very fixed into the industrial China. That's weakening. But at the top end, Richemont, LVMH, they're going great. So the Chinese upper class, or the rich in China, seem to be doing fine. So it's a mixed picture, but perhaps a more granular and a more useful picture than some of those sort of top-down helicopter data might tell us.
And then this final story on the IMF, and it's. You say it's been softly in Western Europe, but this is a bit too tough in Romania.
Yeah,
and hence the latest developments. It's not fair.
Yeah, exactly. And it's a theme we've been touching on over a number of months, actually, is that the IMF has to be really careful to be seen to be treating everybody equally. And there has been a suspicion over last month that, somehow because they're OECD countries or they're in the EU, the harshness that the IMF...
Where's the softly coming from, though? I mean, it hasn't been that softly in Western Europe, has it?
Well, Greece is still, it's still arguing around the edges of what it should do. I think that Ireland, has
we've seen pretty painful cuts in these countries. Let's face it.
Yeah, but compared with the cuts that are being taken in Romania, we think that the IMF has to look to itself and to its own conscience and to its own tactics, because you might be right. Maybe the IMF is treating everyone equally, but it can't be seen to be treating people unequally.
All right, we'll give your voice a rest now. Robert, thanks a lot for that. We're going to talk to former BOE member Andrew Sentence later on today on why he thinks the central bank should tighten policy, and catch the US Breaking Views show every day, 12:30 Eastern, 17:30 GMT. I'm Axel Threlfall. This is Reuters.